Welcome to the Go Procast, where we invite business doers who are changing lives by sharing their stories, their strategies and tactics, and who bravely talk about their failures that actually led to their biggest successes. Now it's time to Go Pro with Jeremy Torres. Today we are with Sandy Joy Weston M.ED, who has been an entrepreneur her entire life. Owning and operating health and wellness centers, she uses fitness as her vehicle to spread joy and impact the world in a positive, powerful way. Sandy became the first female trainer for the Philadelphia Flyers and personally worked with Lindros, Snider, and even the ex-owner Pat Croce at one time. Sandy is the author of 3 books, Train Your Head and Your Body Will Follow, My 30-Day Reset Journal, and Recess to Reset. Sandy speaks nationally and around the world as she presents virtual and live workshops. She also coaches individuals and groups, and on top of all that amazing action, she has 2 podcasts, Let's Keep It Real and Positive Power Lady, and now has even created a new YouTube show called Overcoming the Weekend. Her purpose and mission for all of this, to spread joy and positivity around the world. The Go Procast welcomes Sandy Joy Weston. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, it's a good day. It's a good way. Good wake up call there.
I never know what people are going to say about me. And I'm like, wow, I did all that. Woohoo!
Yeah, it sounds like a full day.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good stuff. I want to get to some of it and unpack it, but I start off every show the same way, asking you to tell us something good.
Oh, something good? I think if you walk out the door every single day with your eyes open on possibility, boom, it comes right in your freaking face.
You're right out of the bat, got the lightning strike.
I like that.
So that was good, because that means that every day you're just open to the possibility that something good could happen. And guess what? Something bad could happen too.
Yeah.
But almost every time it leads to something else good, right? Almost every time.
Almost every. It's not that I'm joyful all the time or my life is Nirvana. I just want to be there more often and help people get there more often.
I love it. Well, your middle name is Joy, you know? And
Voila.
when I talk to sales group, especially new salespeople, and, I tell them they go for no's and all that stuff. And I said, you just got to take a risk. I said, my last name is 2 Risk and my blood type is B positive. So, that's why I keep trying. It's hokey, but it gets a laugh like that. And that's all I go for, because that's joy too, right?
Yeah. I recently am taking my keynote up another notch. I'm in this 7-month course, Heroic Public Speaking. And they had you come up, Jeremy, with what is your big idea? Like, what do you want to get out in the world? How do you want to make people feel? And so we kept working on it. And finally I said, life doesn't happen to you. You happen to life. And that changes everything. You get to decide every morning how you're going to show up in the world. And that doesn't mean you don't bob and weave, because you're going to bob and weave. Right?
Better.
And you're going to hear no, but I'm relentless. My tagline has been, are you sure? You mean not right now? Like, maybe you want me to get back to you.
Yeah. No doesn't mean no. It means not now. Yeah. Really, at the end of the day, if you keep at it. But it reminds me of a Chris Rock quote. He was talking to Bono, and he says he doesn't, the audience, I forget how he worded it, but he said he uses the audience as like an instrument. Being a stand-up comedian, you have nothing, just your wit in your mouth, your voice, and your thoughts. And so he looks at the audience like an instrument, and the way he makes them laugh and controls them is like his instrument. So it's a nice way to be on stage. And I think it really works for speakers too, because for us, we don't have those laugh after laugh after laugh. So for us, we really need to get that emotion and the interaction. It's very difficult for speakers to gauge how we're doing, I think. more so than comedians, because those comedians have instant feedback every
Yeah,
4
yeah.
or 6 seconds.
I know. And we're hoping to land one joke in a 60-minute keynote, like.
Yeah, get them giggling.
Yeah,
I say if they're laughing, they're not hating.
That's true.
You know.
That's true.
So let's get back to you.
Yay.
This is why you're here. You've done so much. First, I guess you says entire life. Have you ever had a job when you were younger, teenager?
Yeah. Oh, I waitressed a lot. Is that called? Yeah, that's like my side gig. Yeah. I waitressed for years. Matter of fact, my business partner had to make me quit waitressing when I opened my first club. I was like, no, it's so much money on the weekends. I don't want to give it up, So I did a lot of weekend waitressing and pumping gas, but I've always just worked for myself.
That's awesome. That's really good stuff. And even both those are again, immediate feedback. Am I doing well? They pay me.
Yeah.
With the tips.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you can always gauge how you're doing your output with your income.
Yeah.
And that's what with the entrepreneur, you can always gauge your output by your income, because action isn't progress. And how you can tell the difference.
Wait, do you get lights for you? Boom.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you that one.
That's for you, Jeremy.
I can do a lot of action, but if there's no progress, there won't be any income. So, that's the feedback right there. Because we don't do So how did you go from what was the first kind of business then that you were into? Was it the health and wellness area?
So I was a dance major in college, but I wasn't as good as I thought. So I got a dance scholarship, and I went to Montclair. I wanted to be near New York City, but I would practice, Jeremy, 12 hours a day. And the kids that would go out drinking and smoking, they'd come in and they'd kick my butt. So I ended up taking a year off, figuring it out, and went back into dance as my concentration in health and phys ed, because I loved studying about the body and the mind and how they all work together.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Ended up at Westchester, Pennsylvania, and then got my master's in exercise physiology. And that led me to teaching classes and group fitness. And I was on the mainline area, so a lot of the clients could afford to pay me individually to come into their home before there were trainers. Like this was in 1985. I'm not saying I wasn't good, but I cornered the market.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
I cornered. And you want to get in good with people and have them refer you, see them in their home 3 times a week. You really get to know them.
Yes.
And if they feel that you're true and authentic and not trying to manipulate them, or you want something from them, oh my God, I felt like Philadelphia's favorite daughter. Everybody was doing everything for me.
That's so great. Because it's the Bob Berg, who was just on, one of my favorite people in the world. If they know you, like you, and trust you, the world's yours. And and as many as you can get to know you, like you, and trust you, the more you'll get. But there's only one way to do that. And you said it's being authentic and giving them more than you even want.
Yeah, I was just there for them. All right, now let's back up. I wasn't starstruck by any of them because I didn't know who they were. So I grew up in New Jersey in the projects. And so where I came from, I was just excited to be alive and have food. And so everything else I did was bonus. And when I met these people, oh my God, I gotta tell you, one of the funniest stories is, she'll love this story. I got to train some of the bigwigs, but I got to train Turquoise Irving. Do you know who Dr. J is? Julius?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to her house. It's Turquoise Irving.
Is that his wife?
His wife, whatever. And I'm like, have all these kettlebells for her. And there's these guys, big, tall dudes out with fishing poles. And I wasn't even thinking Sixers. I was just like, hey guys, oh my God.
My kettlebell. I always have this by my feet. I got kettlebells by my feet.
All right, that's a whole nother story. But I had kettlebells, and I was the first one to bring them into my health club years ago. My partner thought I was whacked. I was like making them. But anyhow.
Right, back to Turquoise.
So I'm in the parking lot, and there he is with 5 guys. Didn't put 2 and 2. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Sandy. Can you bring in my kettlebells? And so they put their fishing poles down, bring in my kettlebells. I go into the training, and Turquoise goes, "Did you get to meet my husband?" I'm like, "Who's your husband?" She's like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" Did you notice they were all 7 foot whatever guys? And I'm like, "Oh my God." I go, "Well, who's your husband?" She's like, "Dr. J."
Wow.
And then we ended up becoming good buddies,
yeah.
but I just didn't know.
Philly, he is Philly, especially back then.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that's.
But I was so like oblivious, which in a way is good.
It is good when you're in that line. You're working with those. Anybody that you work with that's famous, they as soon as they get a whiff that you think you act that way around them, you're immediately at arm's length. Yeah. So just being normal, being regular with them goes a long way towards your connecting with them.
Yeah.
Which is what you need if you're going to be training them and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they need to trust you, especially with their man. You're training them. Some of these people you train, that's their whole career in your hands. Telling them something wrong, popping a ligament.
Oh God.
Pulling a muscle. Difference between championship and getting traded next year.
I made Lindros' calf sore one day, and Pat Croce, who was the official trainer and brought me in, is like, "Are you effing crazy? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Okay, my bad."
So Croce, did he own the Phillies at one time, or you owned?
Well, so what happened is Pat Croce was one of the first physical rehab centers, the Pat Croce centers, that also put in fitness. And he was the trainer for many years for the Flyers. Ed Snider was the owner of the Flyers. But then they did a deal. Brian Roberts, CEO of Comcast.
Oh, I know him well. I used to work for him.
He was one of my first clients, Brian Roberts. Love the dude. His family did so much. I don't know what he's like in business, but
yeah. Well, they're pretty shrewd. His dad was the real deal.
Yeah. Well, I knew the dad, but I trained him and his wife, and so he got me, to do QVC. But whatever. Pat then came into the deal to have a small percentage of the Sixers, but be the face because he was so awesome sauce.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. From what I saw, researching you, I found out all this stuff because I was never, down here in South Florida, we didn't do hockey at all until, gosh, 90s, until the 90s. So the Rat Squad came into Miami Arena. And even then they were just okay. So it didn't really catch on for a while. But your involvement in becoming the first in the country, was it you think you're the first female trainer for a professional athletic team, sports team?
Yes. And it was because Croce got me to train at Snider. Ed Snider goes, "Hey, how would you like to work with a team?" I'm like, I was in my 20s. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then Croce brought me in, but I was the only female, and I brought 7 of my big guys in with me because I had to surround. We each got one of the guys that are off the ice, and I got Lindros.
Nice. Well, that's a nice draw there. Lindros, he's always seemed genuinely nice.
He is. He was. I mean, he was young. He did crazy things just to torque me. Coming upstairs. Some of the guys he would come up and train nude, and I'd be like, okay.
Oh, God. I was thinking to ask you about that, but I didn't want to open any can of worms.
No, he didn't, but some of the other guys, just to see my reaction.
For sure.
And I'd be like, whatever. And then it would end, and then I'd go out in the room and go, oh my God.
But
come back.
Your own in the room, you were like,
whatever.
The woman who works for ESPN, she's amazing. She was at NSA last year. Her name's slipping me. She just got suspended for the little vaccine thing she said, but she told some really great stories about when she first started in Indianapolis, being in the locker room and, just the pompous, stupid things people did back then.
Well, they didn't. I'm telling you, that I was really fortunate. And like people would say to me, as a women entrepreneur or women's sports, I don't know. I mean, maybe I was under some lucky stars. I really felt well respected. I mean, that was a goofy thing they came up, but they really wanted to be nice and kind to me. They really did.
I think that most guys, it's really because you put that out there. Your energy, your vibe. I mean, you're coming from a place of strength anyway, being a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Where a reporter has to be, there's a little more. In fact, she told the story about a quid pro quo. I got a story and I'll tell you, but you got to go out to dinner with me. And that she knew what that meant. Yeah. Where you didn't have that kind of.
No, I didn't have that. I'm there for them.
I'm here for you. And I'm here from the owner, by the way. Well. I mean, at least there is that connection where the reporter comes from the station. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I hope we've come a long way. I think we've come a long way in the locker room for anybody who's a professional, period, whether they're women or men.
I think so. Yeah.
So how do you go from that to, is your transition then to starting to open up your fitness centers, or were you doing that in conjunction around the city?
So I first started an in-home training business. I was doing, you know how you go from like school to school and they have you try different jobs out to see what you would like. And one of them was corporate sales at health clubs, teaching classes, pro shop. Well, I liked it all. I liked corporate sales. I liked teaching classes. So I got to manage some fitness centers. And while I was there is when I got some big names I was training. And Ed Snider was one of the guys that said, "Hey, did you ever think of opening up a health club?" And I was like, no. I mean, I really, from where I came, I thought I'm going to, be a dance instructor, and that would be incredible. I mean, that would be incredible. But he's planted the idea, and then I was like, you know what? I'd be good at that. So it took me 3 years, and I actually saved most of my money. But then Ed and another client invested as limited partners for 24% in my first health club, Weston Fitness, in 1993. But I had money. Man, there was a lot of money in in-home training. I actually made more than my first health club. And then I opened my first health
overhead.
Club. Yes, and employees. And I wanted to overpay because I knew what it was like. And
that's and you find out later that all you have to do is be nice to people and show them respect and let them have a voice, and you don't have to pay them or overpay to get that.
I had to hear what they had to say, have input, pay them way too much, but it's all right. It all worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it worked out because you had a great career, and then you started writing books, and your books are funny. The names are funny. I find them amusing in a great way.
Well, that's good.
It is, because really I find a lot of, I have a love-hate with fitness, exercise, staying in shape.
Most people do.
But especially, we'll get to the other stuff, but train your head and your body will follow. My 30-day reset journal and recess to reset. How far, and by the way, let me just blow up my screen for the people watching. This is Sandy's website, but here are what the books look like. They're really, how long ago how close are all these kind of books together? Because this is a ton of work, and congratulations on not one, but 3 of them. And kind of how did these 3 come about?
Okay, so the first one came out in 2018, so not too long ago. And then the journal, the reset journal, 30-day reset journal, came out in 2020 because it's like a companion of it, and doesn't have as many little stories in it. The book has 2 30-day journals in it, but this is just the journal part with a little bit of explanation. Which I have the kit. This is a request that just came out in July. Recess to Reset is for kids ages 8 to 12, because my publisher said with all the anxiety and all the stress out there, can you do something fun and lighthearted for the kids, which I love. And by the way, that's what I'm using now. Because I love it. Well, I sent it to friends, and my friends use it. They're like, forget my kid. I love it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was chuckling, because it seems like I could get a lot out of this book. All right.
Oh, you could.
It's real stuff, and it's good for kids. The kids need it these days, or with the way that they're. Yeah. And I think kids are older anyway, because they're exposed to all the internet and all the things that we deal with in life much younger these days.
And with everybody home a lot, they got to see mom and dad more in their stress zones. Oh boy, that is true. It transfers, everybody's feeding, no matter how much you say, "Oh, I didn't say it in front of them." Believe me, they know and they feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think more so when I was getting a laugh at too is your podcast names too. Because your podcast names seem like they're for people like me, right? What's the one about the weekend? Recovering.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's Let's Keep It Real. Believe it or not, I've been podcasting for 10 years with that, because I wanted to meet health and wellness people. And that's for people around the world, men and females, didn't matter, male and females who are making a positive, powerful difference. The Positive Power Ladies was to show people you don't have to be the B word to get things done. You know, you can be in a powerful space and not be a B.
Yeah.
The Over the Coming the Weekend is for college kids. They wanted something that, because what happens on the weekend, you know, they go out, live it up, and then they regret it. So they needed something to help them with the bounce. But what I started a year and a half ago, which I don't know if it was on there, is it's a live show on Instagram every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's called, Hey, I Got Something to Say. And it's for women, but men listen, that are like 35 and above from around the world that just feel like they're not heard anymore. So I gave them that platform. I got
something to say.
Hey, man, I have something to say.
Good. That is a Jersey Philly thing, isn't it? That's a little bit of Jersey coming out.
I never thought of that, but maybe it is.
Yeah, it's attitude. It's Northeast attitude for sure.
Yeah.
You know, especially I am in, being a professional speaker, I'm in some masterminds with other professional speakers, as you probably are too. And I noticed even the strongest of women have to really pipe up and say, no, stop talking. I'm talking. I have the floor. Because the men just talk over them. I mean, I'm like, whoa, because I'm newer to the game. I'm literally, I say I'm professional, July, really this year, January, the first month is really when I'm starting to get hired, physically paid to speak, and last year I was kind of finding my way. And so, but I immerse myself around other professionals because that's what I do.
Absolutely.
If I want to do it, I will find the best. I'll pay them some money to show me what they're doing. And most of them go, kid, just come hang out with me for the weekend,
Yeah.
Kid, 50-year-old kid, but I feel like a kid anyway.
Yeah, I know.
I was in this room and man, these women would stand up and talk and they just are boss hogging. And I'm like, wow, that's just ego, really, because a lot of professional speakers have a lot of, but the women, hey, I got something to say for women.
Yeah.
And that's what these women did. They were like, I won't use names, but each one of them, and I applauded for them because they were like,
good for you. Have to be,
that flag so fast. It was great.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite? So you're writing, you're doing the podcast and speaking and interviewing, and you've got the show, The Live, and The Live is pretty cool. I haven't done that yet, but it's coming.
It's fun.
Then there's speaking. Which of those, they all go together. I know that. But which of those do you do it for? Like, do you do the other stuff for which one?
Okay. So my big thing, which I do every day, is think about what my mission is in the world, which for me, it's as easy as spreading joy. Okay. So I look at it and I say, is this going to allow me to impact the most people and spread joy?
Yeah.
So although I could get better, I heard one of your interviews at focus, this is my fraction and these are my people, and really market that. My career was built more on, all over the place, but people that were ready to hear my message and spread joy. So I love, put me in front of a lot of people, game on.
Me too.
Teaching in a class, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I love highlighting, as much as I could talk forever, I'm a great listener and I love highlighting people's stories and helping them get known. And if they can't figure out how to get on media, so that I can help spread their message if it's something I believe in.
Yeah. If you're something you believe in, right. So that's that. I think we have a lot in common there. And I think a lot of speakers do. I would say my number one thing is I just like being on stage because I just feel, I've always felt comfortable on the edge of a roof or on the edge of a pool. If I'm at a party, an outside pool party, I find myself with my heels over the water, talking to people. I feel comfortable knowing that I'm always on the edge. So on stage, I just feel comfortable.
We need to analyze that, Jeremy.
We probably do. It probably won't be very deep either. I grew up screwed up.
Did we all?
Yeah. So that's why I like it on stage. But I don't get to be on stage every day, but I get to speak to people like you every day. We're doing 2 or 3 a day now. And they're stacking up.
You're crazy, dude. You're all in.
Because I'm an immersion person. And so I just want to do this a lot to get good at it quickly. And then, the exposure both ways. The new one, though, is I can't wait. I'm being patient, which is not my MO, but it's called The Risk Factor with Jeremy Torres. And I'm bringing in mental health issues to business and how they coincide.
Yes.
So that's the next thing coming up probably in March. I just got my logo today. I just approved the logo. And then I got to get the back. I'm doing the green screen, total cool background, and that's coming soon.
I love to hear that because fitness has always been my vehicle for the mental health component. And many, many times companies or individuals will hire me and they'll say, oh, for my fitness program, blah, blah, blah. 90% don't use me for that. I end up, because I go, okay, but if this isn't working well for you,
that's why
that's
train
just
your
a
head and
piece
the body will follow.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how you get in. If they hire me for the mental health component, great. I mean, the head is attached to the body. Always, boggled my brain like, okay, it kind of works as one. So, if you feel great about your body, you feel great. I mean, so whatever way I can get in there, I'm going to get in there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, it's more user friendly to say Sandy's my fitness coach versus my mental health coach. You know what I mean? Like, especially men, I'm going, you're bad for business because I'd say 80% of my clients don't want people to know I coach them. I'm like, okay, this is not good. This is not good. It's not good for business. How am I going to get, referrals?
Especially if they're not in the best of physical shape and they're saying you're the fitness coach for 2 years and you're like, you're the same shape. And you go,
but mentally they're healthy. Yeah. And they like themselves.
I always say that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's a sweet spot for me because I didn't tell Jeremy too recently because I wasn't ready to tell people, but man, it's been very impactful. I'm actually putting a few stories that are kind of funny, maybe not so much about my childhood, but not only did I grow up in the projects, but my mom spent 50% of her life in really poor mental institutions. And so seeing that and how people were misunderstood and visiting those mental institutions and having to gear up to go there and seeing some of the people, I swear they didn't belong there. I mean, if they had a little bit more money, they would not be in there. Now, some, yes.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah.
My mother was there too. So I was visiting her. I know what you're talking about.
And so for me, it was always, how can I get this in through simple things people can do every day, like level A? I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist, to get them in that mindset.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah. Well, I always say I don't have a college education, but I have a knowledge education.
Yeah.
And well, Tony said it. I took it from Tony Robbins, but
but
it's a good one. But it's true that what we've gone through, you can't learn in school.
No,
you can never learn any of this stuff in school.
No.
Not organically, like unfortunately, the way we had to learn it.
Yeah.
But you can use it later. And I have to fight myself because I know it's in my DNA, especially the depression. I have ADHD, and I always say, you ever heard of ADHD? I have 100 HD. Right? Because it's pretty wild. But what comes with ADHD is depression and rage and anxiety and all the things, dyslexia, all these things that come together that are usually bundled, and then you just kind of address one of them. But it usually has other things. So that's why I'm very proud of my accomplishments. And I go, if I can do this, anybody can. You know, because I had no business succeeding until I told myself I deserved it. And then that was the ticket. Then no one could stop me. No one's ever been able to, except myself.
Once you do that, and like you said, knowing that your brain, and I always say it's just a unique superpower, because sometimes when you have challenges, there's other superpowers you have, right? Superpowers.
My speech is called Harness Your Superpower.
Ooh, shut up.
Yep, 7 core questions to create positive, profound transformation.
Ooh, I love
That's
that.
my speech. And harness is 7 letters. Each letter is one of the 7 questions.
Oh, so you would love my book of what's your superpower.
I would. I told you that. That's why I was chuckling, because your kid's book was speaking to me.
Yeah. And that's what I try to do. Like, not when kids have different issues, I try to get them to see, okay, well, superpower could be that you're kind, you're courageous, you're a great listener. It doesn't have to be, I'm a great athlete, a great singer, all the
right.
ones they think
typical.
Of.
Well, my superpower is words.
Yeah.
And so I always say, and that's the reason you have to harness them, because if you could use it for good or evil, just like every superhero, there's also the villain, the super villain. So if I use my words for bad and hurt people all the time,
absolutely,
that's evil. Or I could use it for good and help people. But
so
the same goes for me, good and evil. Good is telling myself I can do something, but harnessing that good, because then you get into elevated your ego. right?
Yeah.
Because you're telling
Yeah.
yourself you're the best. And now you got to harness that. You got to be, there's all that. So and then there's bad too. I'm useless. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not deserving of it. So that's a superpower because trust me, when my switch flicked from 7 words, flipped me.
Yeah.
2 times in my life.
I bet.
Yeah, that's all it took. And it's crazy when you think about it. So I said, that's a
Oh,
superpower.
there's so, you know what? At any given day, you could say one little thing to a person or just put a smile on your face. And you never know, years later, they'll come back and say, that was a pivotal point in my life. And you're like, what? What did I even say? You know what I mean? You don't even remember.
And with that, that was awesome. That's exactly right. And I appreciate, how can we help you? People can find you I got your website here. It's sandyjoyweston.com.
Easy peas.
Yep. And to get in touch with you, this is what it looks like. They could just go to your contact page or /contact.
Yep.
Also LinkedIn. You're probably on LinkedIn. People like to message people on LinkedIn, connecting, following. Is that your
everything? Yeah. Everything you can find Sandy Joy Weston. I'm at social media everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's what I'm under, Sandy Joy Weston.
Okay. So we will, push the people your way, elevate your word, because spreading the joy is your jam, and that's
my jam.
We dig it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes, so we'll talk real soon.
Bye, everybody.
So thanks for watching this episode of the GoProcast. Thanks for Sandy for coming on, and we definitely want to spread our message because spreading the joy and happiness and positivity is what we're all about here. Thank you. See you again next time. GoPro.